these arguments for you, Kathleen, but it seems to me that you have to include that as one great possibility for those actions.
Well, you do. I mean, there's are positive forces and there are negative forces and neutral forces. And sometimes, like today, the negative forces spin out of control, and that electron or neutron or whatever, they just spin off and things happen. And I think that positive energy is fighting negative energy right now, just to stay balanced.
Okay. Well,
all right, caller.
Anyway, the question I have for Kathleen, I don't know if that helped you or not. What I did is combined physics and something called the Kabbalah. And if you look at the literal Kabbalah and subatomic particle physics, you'll find that there's a correlation, and you might find that interesting to look into. Kathleen, the question I have for you is about the new Israeli government.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Al Sharon and his new cabinet, or whatever they call themselves over there, are going to rebuild the Temple of David?
I
recently noted that they're now building moats, like around Jericho, and things like that. It looks like they're heading towards maybe wanting to rebuild the temple.
I think that's definitely going to happen, and I think whether Sharon does it or somebody else, they're going to rebuild it. They're ready for it.
Kathleen, I always give my guests in this last hour an opportunity to bail out and get a little bit of sleep, or go on. That's up to you.
Oh, I'd love to go on, Art.
You'd love to go on. All right.
Sure, thank you.
Then go on, you shall. Your book, The Final Warning, right, is available now. We've got a telephone number, and your book really, I guess, is a blueprint for the final days. Is that a fair way to put it?
It is a good description.
It will describe exactly what will occur in the final days?
Right. With very few surprises. It should uncover a lot for people.
That's pretty heavy-duty information, folks. There have been a lot of odd occurrences around this book. Unbelievable occurrences around this book. But you can get a copy. Believe us, it's set up now so you can get a copy. The number to call is 1-866-394-2665. Let me give that again, because I know a lot of people are going to send me emails. I didn't get the number. So write the number down now, please. 866-394-2665. It's called The Final Warning by Kathleen Keating. And you maintain, Kathleen, there are people, even at this hour, awake, taking orders and calls.
Absolutely. And through to 9 o'clock tomorrow night, they'll be steady taking phone calls. And it'll be 9 to 9 until the orders stop coming in.
All right. Good enough. Kathleen, hold on. Stay right there. We're going to do one more hour, and there's certainly no shortage of calls. It's absolutely going berserk in here. And you might try to make it to her website, too, through... Back now to Kathleen Keating. That noise seems appropriate for so many programs, and this one especially. Kathleen, if you're ready, we'll take some more calls.
You bet.
All right, here they come. First-time caller line. You're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a sense of humor. I believe the Pope is the Antichrist, Jeremiah was a bullfrog, and John Hinckley is an imp or Santa's helper. Now,
Santa's helper.
I'm a rocket scientist. I believe I invented the revelations, and I hid the revelations in a bush.
Okay,
straighten me out.
Either you need to...
straighten me out.
Yeah, well, no, you need to straighten yourself out here. Your jokes need to get better, or you need to get serious.
All right.
That's all right. Well, you're welcome. That was it. I guess just a few bad jokes. Wildcard line, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Hi.
Hi, Art.
Hello.
Glad to have you back.
Thank you.
My name is Marlene, and I'm listening to you over KFIV in Modesto, California.
Good.
Last year, I don't know if you remember, I sent you a red booklet on the 3 days of darkness.
You know, I do kind of remember that.
Kind of remember?
Yes.
That came from me. And I finally stayed awake to listen to Kathleen Keating. I always fell asleep. My question, I have a couple for you, Art, but I also have a couple for her. I wanted to know what kind of damage to her animals she had since if they were wearing metal.
I'm sorry?
She said that initially when the show first started, she said that there was some kind of damage done to her animal.
Kathleen?
We had animals killed, and I was remiss in not having St. Benedict medals on them. We have a little problem with the horses because we haven't found a way to keep them on without causing a problem catching them sensitive. But we're going to braid them into their manes. But our horses did experience some problems. We had a foal that got caught in a fence rather badly. And, you know, other than animals being killed, that's what's been happening.
Okay, well, I have 3 rescue dogs and 8 cats, and I'm thinking of all the medals I'm going to have to buy. Also, does your book mention who the Antichrist is?
You get a broad enough clue that you would know who it is, yes.
Okay.
I don't mention him by name in the book, but I do on the website.
Okay, and I have to go through your website, Art, to get to her website?
Well, no, you don't have to, but it'll probably be equally difficult doing it either way. If you go to my website, just go to today's guest info, and, you know, the link will be right there.
Okay, I don't have my own computer, so I have to figure out how to do this. Art, I heard over the news a few days ago something is going on outside of California City. Have you heard anything about that?
What do you mean by something? No.
Well, somebody is channeling somebody over there. I mean, I kind of got a little bit of it, and I think something is going on, quote, outside, unquote, California City.
No, I had not heard that. Kathleen, have you?
There's a lot of channeling going on right now. I'm not sure that it's for the best at all. It seems rather creepy.
Well, yeah, maybe, but I was just curious. I thought maybe you might have heard something about it, Art. So
no, I'm sure I will now, though.
Good. And let's see. And lastly, I wanted to know, I was reading some of my notes from prior shows, and I was kind of interested in some of the things I wrote down about this. I believe it was a Father Kramer. Who is that? Who is he?
I'm not...
He's at the Fatima Center, Father Paul Kramer, and he was friends with Malachi Martin and has taken up the gauntlet trying to get the real third secret released.
Okay, that's what it is then. Okay, and lastly, Art.
Can you hook me up with him, Kathleen?
You bet. I'll be talking to him tomorrow, Art.
Would you please get contact information for him and get him to me? Or
I sure
get
will.
It to me. All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Caller, very quickly.
Yeah, Art. There's been some talk here over another radio show during the day, the Morning Express, and some callers have called in and they were talking about HARP. So sometime could you have another show on HARP?
Yes,
I'd like to know what that's all about.
Yes, I will indeed. Thank you very much. We are monitoring HARP, operating on various frequencies. Do you know about HARP, Kathleen? Are you up on that at all?
I do, and I think that we need to be very careful about what they're doing. I haven't gone through all the Bible code on it, but it looks pretty fascinating so far.
Really?
Uh-huh.
There are references to
572 references, I think, to HARP.
572?
Something like that. Unless it's in the thousands. I know it's at least 572.
Wow.
Yeah. Very impressive.
That stops me cold. Yes, if you could connect Father Kramer and myself, I'd appreciate it.
Be happy to.
All right. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Hi.
Good morning, Art.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kathleen. Listening to you on the new 97.1 in St. Louis. This is David in Whitehall, Illinois.
Yes, we are now on FM in St. Louis.
Kathleen, I certainly think you have a valid warning about the anti-Messiah, as I refer to him, and certainly the one world government deception, which I think is upon us. And we're certainly talking about the ultimate questions, it seems, tonight. I believe in the inspired Hebrew Bible, including the New Testament. However, I don't call myself a Christian. I do believe in the Creator, Yahweh, and the Messiah, Yahshua, which means Yahweh is salvation. I certainly, and I'm sure you already realize that. I don't believe, though, personally, in such a thing as the rapture, that it will occur. But the Bible says that the entire world will be deceived. Even Christianity as a whole, I think, will be deceived by what we've already talked about, the great miracles, these devious miracles, which are going to be done by this man. I mean, how it certainly could he even ended up in your backyard in Nebraska. I mean, I believe that happened, and that's just amazing. But of course, they said the truth shall set you free. Do you think, Kathleen, as I do, that the Great Tribulation will begin in the spring of the year, and this is we're coming up on the spring, and go 3.5 years until the true Messiah comes in the fall in the Feast of Trumpets. Do you believe along those lines?
I somewhat agree with the timeline. I think it could begin in the spring, as a lot of things begin in the spring. I think it's symbolic. But I think that we might see Jesus return on Good Friday, 3 years after we start the tribulation.
Great show, Art. Appreciate it.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for the call. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Good morning.
Hello, it's me.
Well, only you know that for sure. It sounds like you, though.
Okay.
Where are you?
I'm in Ojai, California.
Okay. You're going to have to speak up good and loud.
Okay. She mentioned something about purgatory and saying that it was the time to give up all the things that were attached to.
All the earthly things, yes.
Well, I think purgatory is a lot more serious than that, because I go through that right now, through awareness, seeing the things that I'm attached to. I think purgatory is a lot more than just giving up things.
It is, and it's very hard to describe in just a short amount of time, but it is very serious. And some people go through it on Earth, as you said, either through physical suffering, mental anguish, or whatever. It's a lot of things.
Is there any way to measure time man how long somebody might be in prison?
There was a question brought up by Lucy who asked the Blessed Mother if her friend had made it to heaven, and the Blessed Mother replied that no, she was in purgatory for her sins. And she said, Lucy said, how long would she be there? And she said, until the end of time.
Until the end of time?
Until the end of time. I have heard that some people are in there as 1,500 years, whatever it takes to get their soul refined.
And this was a friend of...
Lucy knew her in Fatima. And she had died, I think, at the age of 18. And so she was paying for some of the sins that she had committed. Not that they weren't forgiven. They're automatically forgiven through confession or, when you tell the Lord you're sorry.
Well, I'm going to be seeing the year 10,000 coming.
I don't know, Art. I think if we live through this tribulation, that's our purgatorial suffering. I think that a lot of purgatory will be wiped out by enduring a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. First-time caller line, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Good morning.
Yes, Art?
Yes.
Yes, this is Rich from Omaha.
Yes, sir.
First want to say it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
We missed you.
Thank you.
And Kathleen, I was raised a Catholic, although I don't no longer attend the Catholic Church. I am still a Christian. Earlier you was talking about the making images speak and such. I think in the Bible, the book of Exodus, where it speaks of not making any graven images or any likeness of anything in heaven above or the earth beneath, I think that's probably the reason that was written.
Well, it could be in the long run, but do you keep pictures of your family up? I think a lot of people that are in the Catholic faith anyway, or in Christian faith, put pictures of Jesus up. I mean, they feel that they're part of his family. And I don't think it's idolatry, but I think it certainly with the end times, lots of strange things will be happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's dangerous as far as to things that involve our religion or our faith.
You can't throw your baby out, and if your baby starts talking to you, maybe a week old, I mean, that's going to be pretty startling.
Yeah, it would. It definitely would be.
Yeah, you can take the pictures down, and that baby's still going to talk to you.
Yeah. Well, I guess if it says it in the Bible, there has to be a reason, for it to say that. I just think that images like that, especially something to do with one's faith, gives a tendency for it just leaves itself open for demonic beings or extraterrestrials or whatever you would call them to make use of them.
Well, think of how many Protestant churches, too, have statues of the saints on the outside of the buildings, especially in Europe. I mean, maybe they'll start talking. Who knows?
That would do it for me, Kevin. It really would do it, and would do it for most people.
Scare the crap out of you.
Yeah, that's the problem. It would do it for most people. So, I don't know how even those of faith are going to make it past all of this tomfoolery that you say will precede everything.
Well, that's where the warning comes in and the miracle, because it's going to be made abundantly clear who's who and what's what.
But before that happens, a lot of people are going to fall for it, right?
Well, I don't think we're going to, I hopefully not. I think that some things are going to happen, but I think when we get further into the tribulation is when we're going to see this kind of phenomenon take place.
All right. Wildcard Line, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Good morning.
Good morning. Art, great program. Kathleen, 3 questions.
Mm-hmm.
With the possibility of the church consecrating Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary, possibly delay the timetable you've put forth?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's our downfall, and we're paying for it.
Number 2, you mentioned the massacre of the church except for a remnant.
Mm-hmm.
Could you possibly go into that? And third,
West of the Rockies, call toll-free 1-800-618-8255. The Rockies going to air that caller. It's too close, and it would identify. I'm just not going to do it. I'll tell you what. Just know that you were correct, all right?
Thank you, Art.
I bleeped that out, but you were correct.
Thank you, Art.
All right, Kathleen, hold on, sir. Well, no, he's already gone. Kathleen?
Well, the remnant that he's talking about is we're going to see a big schism in the Catholic Church and Christian churches. And the church will go underground, much as it did in the first century in the catacombs in Rome, and will be underground all over the world. And there will be very few people left that are true believers, but they will survive.
All right.
They'll be protected as well.
East of the Rockies, your turn with Kathleen Keating. Hello.
Hi, Art. How you doing?
Fine.
I got a question for Kathleen.
Okay.
Now, I've been searching for this answer for quite a while, so maybe you can help me out and try to help me to understand this. Okay, it says in the Bible, that Satan was the most beautiful angel ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then he wanted to, become God, take over his position, okay? And then God casting him out of heaven, that became good and evil. Okay, now let me ask you this, and maybe you can help me understand. Excuse me, I'm kind of nervous here.
That's all right. Just relax and say what you want to say.
What I want to know is, why is mankind caught up in a fight that is not even ours? It's between God and the devil. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do, and that's a good question. I think that we are caught up in it because we choose to be. I think that it's been the design of Lucifer all along to get as many souls as possible, because in his frame of mind, he believes that the more souls he captures in hell will make him like God, and that he will one day be let back into heaven. That's what this is all about.
Maybe the devil's like the Chinese, and they figure if there's a high enough population, they can take a big hit, and it won't matter.
Right.
In a war.
Right. That's a very good way to put that.
I don't know. Yeah, West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Hello.
Hello, Art. This is Cliff from Colorado Springs on 740 KDOR.
Yes, sir. That's the way to do it.
First off, I'd like to thank you for introducing me to Father Martin over your radio program.
You bet.
And I wish he was still around to help us. My question, I guess, to Kathleen, Sean David Morton one time had referred to Father Martin's death and the release of the third secret, in that Father Martin had to be gone before they could all the secret.
Well, I believe that. Absolutely.
No, I agree with you.
He would have let the truth be known. I think he would have.
I think so
declared
too.
it.
Yeah, and
This
he being the only
location
one out
is
there
no
who had
longer
the
hospitable to
authority,
humans.
as he always put it, to question the Pope
Hello.
and the Vatican.
Travel safely.
Also, Art, I don't believe you should interview the Antichrist because you don't have the protection of Father Martin.
No, I don't have very much protection at all, thank you very much. Not according to most of what I've heard tonight. If the faith is what gives you protection, I'm in big trouble, so you raised a very good point.
So Father Martin would have helped you.
I'm sure he would have.
One last
but
thing.
you really are particularly right about Father Martin had to be gone before they could do the release of that, I don't know what to call it, that facade they released calling it the Third Secret.
One last thing. Kathleen, where can I get more information on the Bible Code, please?
I have some of it up on my site if you can ever get in at KathleenKeating.com.
Yes.
We have stuff up every week on the Bible Code.
That is the address, KathleenKeating.com.
That's it.
All right. Very good. First time caller line, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Hi.
Is it my turn?
Your turn, yes.
Okay, this is Dave in Dallas, listening to you on 570 AM.
Cliff, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I tuned in a little bit late. I was wondering if she could expand a little bit on what she said about the Chinese on our border. And I know you've talked many a times in your show about near-death experiences and people seeing going through a tunnel and
yes.
light at the end of that tunnel.
Yes.
And possibly Jesus. Would she say that truly is Jesus, or maybe the devil deceiving people?
Kathleen, NDEs.
It could be both. I think that some people see Jesus and some people see the angel of light. We know that at death we see demons as well as we go through that valley of darkness through the tunnel.
We're completely out of water and could use a spare drink
pack. I pay more attention to the bad experiences of NDEs than the good ones.
It's funny. There are a lot of bad
stranger.
ones, but
I really appreciate
don't talk about them.
I know how hard it is to survive out here. I promise you, we won't let this go to waste.
People who have had the bad ones, but you don't hear about them very often, and they certainly don't write about them in books. Kathleen, hold on. We are at the bottom of the hour.
Too long time with no peace of mind, and I'm ready for the time to get better.
From Terry in Denver, Colorado, a fast blast, and I think a very good one, too. It says, how about the aliens and the invasion that Kathleen talked about earlier? Pin her down, Art, for details. We need to know more, especially about first contact. So, okay. Kathleen, if we were to suddenly get a wild message from, and I have contacts with the SETI people, that are looking out for first contact, and they were to tell me, oh my God, Art, we've got the WOW signal or whatever it is nearby,
right?
And we have contact. What? How would you interpret that?
Beginning of the end.
Really?
Yeah, I think that we're going to see it really soon. Obviously, the sightings have become more and more prevalent.
Yes.
Channeling people have gotten a lot more messages that they're going to make their move. And the children that I talked about earlier are seeing them. So it's going to happen soon. I don't know as to when it's going to happen. I would think very soon we're going to see some real proof that they do exist. And that we may even hear that there's going to be a galactic war and the Earth's going to be right in the middle of it.
And so then if first contact occurred, you would simply regard that as the beginning of the end?
Yeah, I would. I would think that we need to be prepared to see wall-to-wall demons and not just ETs, but the real thing, the genuine articles.
Well, it's interesting, Kathleen. There was a study that was done by a commission about how we would react to first contact. And that study suggested that it would be a catastrophe, that people would believe all kinds of things. And based on what you just said, I guess the Brookings Institution that did that study, in my opinion, would be correct. If the majority of the religious community interpreted first contact, as you obviously do, it would not be a good thing.
Well, I think it may seem like a good thing in the beginning, but I think that we'd all find out that it isn't. The New York Times had an opportunity to release the fact that ETs existed in 1960 or so, and they opted not to because they thought that chaos would ensue.
I think so, too. First time caller line, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating.
Kathleen?
Yeah.
Hey, how are you doing? This is Michael in El Paso, Texas at the moment. I'm a truck driver. And, of course, I came out of Laredo, Texas this afternoon, and with what you guys were talking about, on the Mexican border. NAFTA has just given an influx of trucks, Mexican trucks, into the United States to actually run the States. And, there's thousands of trucks coming across our borders every day. So what you're saying kind of is alarming to me.
Well, it's very alarming. I talked to a former customs agent, John Carmen. I think Art's talked to him too. At least John mentioned that he's been down there, and they're just letting trucks and everything else through without being stopped, and that's a very dangerous situation for us.
Oh yeah, well there's thousands a day. Coming across. I can't tell they can possibly thoroughly check every truck coming across.
The answer is they don't.
They don't, and it's planned that they don't.
Yeah, they definitely can't. I guess really no question. I just had heard that, and of course, like I say, coming out on the radio today, wanted to make that statement, and I thought it was kind of interesting. One other thing, though, as I listen to different any radio station I can get clear as possible. Of course, here in to choose from space between all of them. One of the commercials that came on after that was, or during one of your commercials, was talking about actually the New World Order, this new one world religion.
Okay, that would have been from whatever station you were listening to. I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure which one it was. Like I say, a lot of them I choose. But anyway, just as the program's going on, different things I'm hearing, in commercials and on the news. So I guess those are all my comments. Thank you. I'm glad we're back, and thanks for this good show.
All right, thank you very much. Kathleen, here's an interesting question for you.
Okay.
You sounded relieved at the results of the election. Is that so?
Only because, not necessarily in the outcome, but in the fact of what could have happened to the country. So I was glad, yes, we did have a president one way or the other, without something happening.
All right, but you were not particularly pleased that it was George Bush versus Al Gore?
I think they're both part of the same coin, both different sides of the same coin. I think that with Gore, we would have had a faster approach to the New World Order than we will with Bush. So Bush is better.
You really think that?
Yeah, I do.
Particularly in view of the fact that it was George Bush Sr. that first raised the specter of the New World Order. From his lips.
Yeah, but they have a different plan of attack, and I think that I'm not sure that the Jesus Christ that George Bush believes in. I would like to think it's the genuine article, but then again, it could be the other one.
But there are many who say the apple does not fall far from...
Well, there you go. You didn't like, I don't think, the way he looked in his eyes. There was something in his eyes that bothered you, as you mentioned, I think, a couple years ago.
He gave me the creeps.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah, I'm just hoping he's good for this country to give us a little more time.
I hope he is too. All right, Wildcard Line, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Hi.
Morning, Art. Morning, Kathleen.
Morning.
Mike in rainy Redondo Beach, listening to KFI. Yes, I wanted to ask you, it's interesting that of all the books of the Bible, Revelation is the only one that promises a special blessing if you read it. And my specific question in regards to Revelation is, it mentions that the beast will have the number 666. And how do you tie that into maybe either confirmation of who the Antichrist is, or maybe that'll tie into the fact that Revelation discusses that we'll have to take the mark of the beast to trade? Do you see that tying into Social Security numbers or anything? Where do you see that 666?
Well, the Antichrist name in the Gematria Code does add up to 666. If it's spelled the way that it normally is. I do see that any number of any kind being assigned is a danger. We're seeing it in Russia now that the barcode's being handed out and people are going crazy. They won't go to church if their priest or pastor has taken the number. So we're going to see a lot of that. I think we're not going to be able to buy or sell, and the Bible predicts it. So gold and silver will eventually be worthless.
Gold and silver worthless?
Yeah. The Bible says that in the book of Revelation, that within a day, the price of gold and silver will be nothing. Very scary, because a lot of people, what are we going to do?
Sounds like you scared this caller. Well, he's probably got a pile of gold there or something.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody says, Art, why not be honest with your listeners? and mention that you've already had the fellow Kathleen is referring to on your program, October 11th of 98, and he gives the name. Yes, I had the man who represented that he could get the person who Kathleen has named as the Antichrist on the program. He certainly did. And he promised to get that person on my program. That's exactly right. This person who sent the message is dead on.
Mm-hmm.
So, East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Hi.
This is me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Matt from Minneapolis, Minnesota, listening on AM 1500.
Yes, sir.
And my question, I'm going to try to keep it simple here because I have so many questions. But to start out, I guess, do you believe, I know the Antichrist, it's all going to happen, and the Messiah will appear, and God will come at the end, but will there be any, like, earthly warriors from God, actually human form?
Absolutely.
That will withstand or try to withstand?
They will put up a valiant fight against the Antichrist and his forces, and they will have powers that the saints in earlier times really had wished they'd been born now so that they could experience them.
So they won't hide, they will...
No, they will fight. They will come out in the open and they will fight.
Okay, wow. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you very much. And, thank you. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Hi.
Good evening, Kathleen.
Hi.
This is Lady of Kinnick in KENI, Alaska.
Right.
And hello, Art. Shalom. And about the book of the Bible codes, I read that, and everything was all synchronized. And then they got into where they were talking about that large earthquake of 5760, and that ended on Yom Kippur.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that the year don't really end until we step into the month of Nisan, and that's March going into April, and that's when, like, the Jewish calendar, that the new year begins. And I think that is just really, really interesting that hasn't happened yet, and except for that one in India. I thought that was phenomenal. And also, the code working in 7, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it 1994, February the 28th, that the siege of Waco started? And then on this February 28th, 7 years later, we had that happening in Seattle. And also where it was talking about as in times of Noah, it said, they're saying March the 28th that the morning star is going to be the closest to the earth that it's been in 3,500 years. And the last time it did that was in the times of Noah when the flood came.
Gee, I'll give you one. I've been watching this. The scientists, the astronomers, are now saying we are going to have a visible to the eye comet this Christmas.
Hale-Bopp was in 1997.
Right.
And John the Revelator...
And this will be, they say, the next biggest thing to Hale-Bopp, and it will come at Christmas.
But, Art, you know what's really interesting about this thing is if you think back in 1997, Rosh Hashanah,
yes.
September, okay?
Yes.
Back in March of 97, it was when they had the peak of Hale-Bopp, that was March the 29th. And in your Zandervan, you read it, and it'll tell you that 97 AD is when John the Revelator wrote the book of Revelation, and that would mark 1,900 years to the day. And if you go from September, Rosh Hashanah 97, to this here coming Easter, which is supposed to be the first Sunday after the first full moon after March the 21st, is supposed to be, that'll be make it around the 8th, okay?
Yes, I understand. So, in other words, you're fixing the date this spring. You don't necessarily disagree with that, Kathleen?
This spring for what, particular? Something to happen?
Yes.
Yes, I think so. I think we're going to see some things happening. And we've got 2 comets coming in December.
2 of them, really?
2. One's due on the 16th of December.
Wow. I knew about 1, but not 2.
They just found this other one.
All right. Every day, something new. First-time caller line, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Hi.
Hi, Art. This is Fred from Woodinville, Washington, listening to Como.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate the program tonight. And I'd like to answer a question that you and quite a few other callers have asked concerning the futility that we are being subjected to. And according to God's own mouth, he said that we were subjected to futility not of our own will, but because of him who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its slavery to corruption into the freedom of the glory of the children of God. So that's his purpose. And what would be kind of a shock to you is, from what I understand from quite a bit of what I've heard about and learned in the Bible, is that we are really the aliens on this planet. We are not of this world. And that there were those Nephilim that corrupted the human race. God had to do everything legally. That's why it's taken so much time for his laws to be set forth, that things will be done legal in the universe, and that the demons are quite possibly the pre-Adamic creation that was mentioned in the Bible, because he said for us to replenish the earth, to take it back over, take the territory over, and I just would like to know what you think and Kathleen thinks about that, and I'll listen off the air. Thanks.
All right. Kathleen?
Well, I think the Nephilim have been a problem for a long time, and they continue to be, and certainly they intermarried with some of Adam's relatives, and the problem just keeps on getting worse and worse.
All right. Wildcard line, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Good morning.
Good morning, Art. Good morning, Kathleen. This is Christopher calling from Hawaii. I'm listening to you on KHVH, the big 8:30 a.m.
Honolulu. Yes,
that's right. Boy, there's a lot of passions evoked by this topic tonight, Kathleen. I support what you're saying. I believe very strongly. I'm a scientist and a spiritual person. Some guy got earlier, and he sounded very fanatically religious in his scientific point of view. Unfortunately, I think that the false religion persecuted science for so long. There's a backlash now. The new science has become the religion of the day. Christ did exist, though, because they have the book that was written recently that said, "Oh, Christ was a myth. He didn't exist at all. It was all made up." However, if that's the case, then Pontius Pilate was in on it, because he wrote a letter to the Emperor of Rome declaring that he had crucified Christ, and was upset because his hand was moved by the religious leaders of the day. So Christ actually existed. He was a real man, whether or not he was an Essene or a Gnostic or whatever. I think the thing is, as we get closer and closer to the end times, there's more and more of this polarization between believers and non-believers. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's just going to increase. Pilate was given a revelation that he would kill the Christ himself, and was troubled by it. His wife had a dream too, and it came back to haunt him. And I think the proof is there. Whether we make gods out of the creation of God, or whether we accept God for who he is, it remains to be seen.
Well, I appreciate that.
All right, so thank you. Time for one more, I think. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Kathleen Keating. Hi.
How you doing, Art?
Okay, where are you?
I'm calling from Toronto, Canada. My name's Mike.
Okay.
How you doing, Kathleen?
Fine, how are you?
Not bad. I was just wondering, do you believe that Jesus Christ was God in human form?
I believe he's the Son of God in human form.
So you don't believe
he was human and God at the same time. There are three persons in God, and he was the second person.
Okay. Do you also believe that you have to be born again?
I do.
Okay.
Whether through baptism or whether accepting Christ as your Savior.
Oh, great. Another thing, I was wondering where you get your biblical background for the purgatory.
That's in Catholic dogma.
So it's not actually a Baptist or any other type biblical.
No, that's Catholicism all the way.
That's Catholicism.
Oh, I see. So you don't believe. So I'm just wondering why you believe in purgatory then.
I think that there's enough evidence from the saints and scholars to indicate that purgatory does exist. I know Father Martin talked about it a lot.
Oh, so you believe in getting information from true believers?
Well, they're the best kind to get the accurate information.
But they don't believe in being born again.
Sure they do. It's just a different phrase of how they put it. Catholics believe it in baptism that they're born again, and that you have to continually make that commitment every day of your life to be born again.
Okay, what about the fact that Jesus Christ is the only mediator between man and God?
He is the only bridge to the Father, and without him, we can't see the Father.
And on that note, we're going to have to close it out. Kathleen, again, once Kathleen's website is back up again, you can go take a look for yourself with regard to the name of the Antichrist and the organization. With regard to her book, The Final Warning, you can call 1-866-394-2665. That's 1-866-394-2665. Is there any other information you want to get on the air?
You can get the monthly newsletter for $14.95 at the cost. That's for information that's up to the latest minute in between books.
And I take it that's also on the information on that is on the website.
It is, and the phone number will apply to that as well.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Is that a monthly?
Monthly newsletter.
All right. Well, Kathleen, as always, thanks for coming on the air and scaring the hell out of all of us.
Thanks for having me, Art. I appreciate it.
Good night, Kathleen.
From the Coast to Coast AM archives, you're listening to the best of Art Bell. This program originally aired June 5th, 2001. Please do not call.
From the high desert and the great American Southwest, I bid you all good evening, or good morning, or afternoon, wherever you may be across this great land of ours. From in the west, Guam, the island of the Rock, eastward to the Caribbean and the U.S. Virgin Islands, south into South America, north all the way to the pole, and worldwide. On the old internet, this is Coast to Coast AM, and I'm Art Bell. Glad to be with you. Should be quite a program tonight. Coming up in a moment. Oh, my. Some years ago, I interviewed a fellow named Bugs, who claimed that he shot two creatures that he thinks might have been Bigfoot. On my webcam, you will see half of a map. Bugs has sent me a map of the burial location of whatever these creatures are. I don't know that I like that kind of responsibility. We'll ask Bugs here in a minute why he sent it. Robert W. Morgan, who is a premier Bigfoot investigator here in the U.S., and I thought he ought to listen to Bugs' story this time as we listen to it once again, and maybe he has some questions that I forgot to ask. Pretty serious subject, and why only half the map? Well, that's obvious. First of all, I've got a map of the burial location of two creatures. We'll decide as the program wears on what it is these creatures are. I'm going to introduce two people to you right now. One is Robert W. Morgan. Robert, are you there? We're here. You are. Okay. Let's see. The first thing you wanted me to do was give out your phone number on the air, right?
Yeah, just like I'm going to give out your home. You betcha.
All right. So you're kind of in retreat right now. When you first wrote to me, you said I'm kind of undercover with a pal. So you've been nobody's found you for a while, Robert.
Yes, I'm living somewhere in Montana, and as you know, it's a pretty large state.
I know.
And I'm here on purpose, and it's carrying on some things. We've had some rather significant successes with those audio cassettes that I had mentioned to you at one time.
Right.
And so far, 16 people so far, by following that, have had face-to-face
encounters?
Yes.
With Bigfoot?
Yes. And so what I'm trying here is, since I found that I needed an area where I wasn't known and where people would not waste their time playing nonsense, and starting from scratch. And at the same time, of course, I love Montana. I've been in and out of Montana for 20-some years, and it's absolutely fabulous.
All right. So your quest continues, and you've been researching Bigfoot for how long, Robert?
Well, my first sighting was 1957, but I didn't start serious research until about, I think it was 1969.
And you have, did you write a book?
No, I did an audio cassette. The book is incomplete because I haven't finished it yet for for obvious reasons.
All right. Well, I may have another chapter for you here.
Good. I'm all ready.
All right, so you'll be doing a lot of listening, although you're welcome to ask a question as the story unfolds. It was, I don't even know how long ago. Bugs, are you there?
Yes, I am, Art. Good morning.
Good morning, Bugs. Can you... oh, yeah, Bugs and Dog.
Yep.
Bugs, you want to tell us what state you're in?
I'm in Texas, Art.
Texas, all right. How long ago, Bugs, did you tell me originally the story of what you did?
I started 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years, yeah, I thought it was quite a while. Time flies.
Yeah, I'm getting older every day.
Aren't we all?
There is
all right,
no
Bugs,
cause
I've got a real expert here, as you can
vicinity.
hear, Robert W. Morgan.
Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Doing fine. You?
I'm alive and meaner than cat dirt.
Well, I keep telling everybody I'm still breathing, so I guess we're all right.
All right, fine. Bugs, if you would, begin at the beginning. And by the way, Bugs, before we even start, why did you send me this map?
Because, Art, my days are limited on this earth, and when I'm gone, my wife's going to call you and say, go for it.
Really?
And you can reveal to the world a map. I have not been back to that place since that day.
All right, let's start then with that day. Go ahead and tell it in as much detail as you want, Bugs.
Art, me and 2 of my friends, which I'll refer to as Bird Dog and Jim, were coyote bobcat hunters. Back in the middle 70s, those varmints was worth a lot of money.
How much could you get for one?
Well, no bobcat would bring anywhere from $300 to $700 that pelt.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Bringing like $40, $50 a piece. And then we'd go out, and to be honest with you, it was a little more than a hobby. We were real serious about it.
Right.
And we hunted many, many nights all over this country.
Were you making your living that way then?
Yes, I was. I was farming at that time. I gotten out of the Marines and came back home, and I was farming, and in that part of the year, this cotton country up here, so we didn't have much to do in January and February except kind of sit around.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we hunted a lot in that period of time because you had to wait until the freeze come for those pelts to cure. For some reason, and I don't know, maybe somebody can explain it to me, but an animal like a coon or a coyote or whatever, if you kill them before it comes a hard freeze, when you skin them, their pelts are blue on the inside after they dry out. If you kill them after a hard freeze, they're white.
Huh.
And I have no earthly idea why that is.
Does that sound right to you, Robert?
Yeah, I've seen that multicoloring, but I had no idea the reason. I didn't make that correlation. That's interesting.
Okay.
So anyway, it was like in December, January, and February that we hunted a tremendous amount. And then in late February, to get into what they call the rutting season, and the animals would get mange and whatever, and they wasn't worth hunting. So about 2 months, you had prime time hunting. And me and these 2 guys, we hunted a lot. We were all 3 from Vietnam veterans, and very close friends. And we had one night we had gone. I don't know how to tell this, giving the location away. But
whatever words you want.
Good day, Captain.
If somebody knows what I'm talking about,
I am relieved
find out.
you have given up.
But anyway, we had hunted, and we back in the flatlands. So then we took this road back up north of where I'm at now, and it swung around. It runs through ranch country. It's probably 25, 30 miles. Nothing but ranch land.
So in other words, this location is within, 100 miles of where you are now?
Oh, it's closer than that.
Closer than that, all right.
It's within 30 miles of where I'm at right now.
Okay.
So anyway, we came around and we came across this, we were going to cross this creek. It's more than a creek, but its name is Elm Creek. And we were going to cross that.
I will await your next order here.
Coming down that county road through this ranch land and stuff. And these ranchers loved us because we get rid of the cows that were taking their calves. And this had to be probably 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I don't remember the exact time. Come around the bend, and then in this bottom there, just before you cross Elm Creek.
So you're hunting with lights then?
Oh yeah, we're using spotlights off the roof of the pickup, using 500-watt halogen bulbs. It would light up anything from within a half a mile. You can see where you're standing, see the ground good.
And anything with eyes lights up real well.
Them eyes. The thing about it is, after you hunted as much as we did, you could tell by looking at a set of eyes what they were. If they were a cow, they were wide apart and they were red. If they were a coyote, they were narrow and they were more blue-red. I mean, it just, after a period of time, Art, you knew what, you could look in that scope and you knew what was there.
I'm not a hunter, so I just take your word for it.
Well, it was just that way. I mean, but anyway, we come around this bend and come up over this rise, and there was a wheat field out in front of us, and just before we crossed this creek, and it was a valley down in there, and there's probably, I'd say it's has wheat land right there, and there's probably a quarter mile or so wide from that road to the creek, and it's probably about a mile long. It runs alongside that creek, and it's flat and has it. And we come around this bend and up and over a little hill and dropped into this valley. Well, just as we dropped into this valley, our lights picked up a set of eyes. And I hit the brakes. I was driving, and Bird Dog, he come out on the side. He had a 300 Weatherly Magnum, and he come across the top. I said, "What you got?" And he says, "I don't know. That ain't something I ever seen before." Well, it just sat there. And so I put
when you said a set of eyes, did you mean 2 eyes or 4?
2 eyes.
2 eyes.
2 eyes.
What color were they, Bugs, if you don't mind?
They were furious red. The reddest eyes I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Under those lights. It was something we knew it wasn't a deer because of the eyes, and it was something. And so I pulled my rifle out. I used a .243. I put my scope on it, and I could see whatever it was crouching. And so Bird Dog, he got out and leaned over the hood of the pickup where he could get him a good shot. And Jim, he come up over the top of the cab, and I don't even remember what kind of, I think he was using a .270. I don't remember for sure. But he lined up over the cab, and I was sitting there, and we just had both these spotlights on this varmint there. And I said, "I don't know what it is," and they don't either. And I said, "Well, it sure isn't nothing we know about it. Let's take it." And all three of us fired at the same time. And all of a sudden, this thing got up, and it must have been 7, 8 foot tall at least. I don't know. Scared the heck out of us. Started running. Well, we all loaded, and we fired again. We knocked it down again. And then it run, I guess, it was probably 100, maybe 150 yards from the point we fired the first time till it hit the fence and went into that creek. And we knocked it down. It's probably 25, 30 yards from the fence.
It fell into a creek.
No, not at this point. And just as it was crossing the creek, we hit it again.
Now, was it running on 4 legs or 2?
It was running on 2 legs, just like a human being. And I mean, it was...
Captain,
right, so it was running on 2 legs.
I will accept
something you've never seen before,
item.
but you 3 guys cut down on it.
Well, we had done shot, and we did not know what it was. It was hunched over. It really wasn't using its front legs, I mean, its arms, as much as it was. It wasn't standing up straight. We still thought it was, what I thought it was at first, to be honest with you, was a bear.
Yeah.
And that's why we fired.
All right, so you had 3 of you fired initially, right?
And
so
we all fired 3 times.
So
you guys are all non-vets, right?
Right.
And so you've had night combat, I'm sure.
Right.
Okay, so you have something getting up on 2 legs and running away, and you still cut down on it. Okay, I have the picture. Go ahead, please.
Okay. But like I said, I originally thought it was a bear. I did not even, I had no idea. We had done fired on it at the point in time that it was sitting out there. And once we fired, I don't know, I guess we just got a little bit gung-ho and kept shooting. But anyway, the second time we shot it, it went over the fence. Well, we went and looked, and at this point in time, we were all getting scared because we thought, well, maybe this wasn't an animal.
Right.
So, like I say, it was probably 3, 4, 5 in the morning, so we decided to drive around a while. About 5:36, we went back over there, and we drove up there, and we went down, and we seen blood. So we've seen some tracks. Looked like a human foot, and to be honest with you, I thought, now, we done shot a human. Now I'm getting scared. So we go on up and start following these tracks, and the creek runs from this point probably 50, 75 yards east, and then it turns back south some. Well, these tracks are going down the creek, and they come out, and they went straight on east from where the creek turned back south. About another 25, 30 yards, there was a plum thicket. And we were walking there, and we heard something in that plum thicket. I mean, it was a growl-type sound. We kind of looked at each other, and so we decided, well, who goes in and see what it was?
A growl.
Yeah, and again, at this point, we thought, well, it's a bear. We done found a bear up here. So, I got elected. I had a 44 Magnum pistol. I climbed into the plum thicket, and I got in, probably 20 feet at the most. And Art, this thing come up at me. I mean, it couldn't have been over, I'd say, 6 or 7 feet from me. I didn't even see it until it was there. And it raised up and let out a sound that is very similar to the one you have on your tape. And when it did...
You're talking about, as he grabs for it, this one, I presume. Anything like that?
Yeah, just the first one, not a repeat.
That first scream is said to be an authentic Bigfoot sound, Robert.
Yeah, that's what they say. I have never heard them scream like that. I've heard them howl, I've heard them hoot, and I've heard them talk. I've never...
You've never heard a scream like that?
No. First of all, I've never challenged them, so they don't perceive me as a threat of any sort, so they wouldn't try to...
Understood. All right, so anyway, Bugs, it sounded something like that.
It's something similar to just the first part. It didn't go on and on. It's just one shrill.
Right.
And I'm basically on my all fours in a crawl position, and I just brought my 44 up, and I started popping shells. And the first one I hit, the first one hit it, I was just aiming right at the chest.
Describe what this thing, since you were seeing it now full on, what did it look like?
Oh.
Best you can.
At that point...
6 feet tall.
Probably, but it was not standing up, Art, at that point. It was more in a hunched, squat-type position.
All right.
I mean, it come up...
Would you describe this as human-looking, as ape-looking? Did it have hair covering it? What can you tell us about it?
It had brownish red hair. It had hair on the face, completely covering the face. Its whole body was covered with hair. At that point, I just fired. It dropped down, started back up, I fired again. And it then kind of rocked and went backwards, and it come back up, and I fired again. I hit it 3 times with a 225 grain, 44 Magnum hollow point, probably 6 to 8 feet. And it was down. Well, the other guys were standing guard up on top watching, and they couldn't see nothing. They heard me firing, and they yelled, and so I was all right, and I said, yeah, I got it. Well, they came crawling in there and where I was at, and they seen it, so we decided we'd drag it out.
Do not attempt combat with
We got
us.
looking.
You will not
all the thing had was 3 holes. And this was a female. You could tell it had breasts similar to a woman. It had a sexual organ similar to a woman. Facial features were different than a human being. Like I say, it was covered completely in hair. So we went back in and we found the male probably, I'd say, 8-10 foot behind where she was at. He was dead.
He was dead.
Yeah. So we drove him out. We laid him out side by side. The male was probably 6 to 8 inches taller than the female. Estimating a male probably be 8 foot plus, female 7 plus. So we looked at him, we got scared because like I said, in the male he had sexual organs like a human. We looked at their teeth, they were not human type teeth. I can't say that they were an ape. I can't say that they were human. They had the features of a human overall, but the details were not.
Okay. Bugs, I want you to hold on. We'll be back to you shortly. We're coming toward a break, and Robert W. Morgan, hold on. Okay, so what do you think Bugs had just shot? 2 creatures. We'll get more of a description, we'll get more of a story in a moment. Robert W. Morgan, Bigfoot researcher, and Bugs, whose real name, by the way, I have, along with a map to the location of the bodies of whatever it is you just heard was shot. Oh my, this is Coast to Coast to Coast AM.
Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm.
You're listening to a special replay of Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. This program originally aired June 5th, 2001. Please do not call. Wanna take a ride? Well, call Art Bell from west of the Rockies at 1-800-618-8255. East of the Rockies at 1-800-825-5033. First-time callers may reach Art at 1-775-727-1222. The wildcard line is open at 1-775-727-1295. And to reach Art on the toll-free international line, call your AT&T operator and have them dial 800-893-0903. This is Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell on the Premier Radio Networks.
That would be us. Morning, everybody. I have 2 guests. Bugs, who shot a couple of creatures, and Robert W. Morgan, a Bigfoot researcher. And we'll get back to them in a moment and the rest of Bug's story. And I'm getting a lot of interesting fast blasts about this, a lot of them very judgmental. We'll talk about that in a moment. All right, once again, I want to cover this. I'm getting a lot of judgmental stuff, saying stuff like, you killed it after you knew it was a bear or thought it was a bear, or Did it ever occur to him that maybe he shouldn't shoot it, or at least he had to run the other way, or, my God, out shooting animals? You know, a lot of judgmental stuff, but if I were to be judgmental, we wouldn't get the story. What I really want is the truth here. So I'm not going to sit in judgment of Bugs. There are a lot of people responding that way, Bugs, as you might imagine. But I'm not interested so much in that as I am the truth. I want the truth, and if the truth is what you were doing, then that's what you were doing. And so I just want the truth, and you are telling us the truth, right?
That is correct, Art. I wouldn't have sent you that map otherwise.
No, I believe you. I believed you the first time, and I believe you now. There are a lot of people who don't like it, but this is a very important story in view of the probable physical evidence that still exists.
You got to remember something. At that point in time, we were making our living basically hunting. Art, there was many a night that I went out and I made $1,000 in a night.
Really?
I mean, there was one night, my biggest night ever. We killed 3 bobcats, 7 coyotes, and 18 coons, and we had $2,400 the next day.
I've got you. So again, I'm not judging you here. Somebody else would like to know. They've got a 5-year-old listening, and they want to know really what these creatures look like. Now, you said not exactly human, not exactly total animal, like something in between. Is there any way you can describe the facial features of these creatures? It should be imprinted on your memory.
Yeah, Art. No, because I've never seen nothing on this earth that looks like them. Their heads, they have a nose similar to a human.
Okay.
Their mouths appear to be more ape. Their eyes are sunken back in their head more than human. I mean, I think if you take a human and cross it with a ape, you could probably come up with a reasonable facsimile of it.
Okay.
You know what I might suggest, Art, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Bugs, after we go off the air, if you would give Art your mailing address, which
Art has my mailing address, he has my phone numbers, he has everything.
Okay, what I'd like to do is...
Robert, let me just interrupt. I promised him anonymity, and we'll explain why here shortly.
Oh, no. What I meant by what I mean is, what I'd do is send a copy to you, Art, and have you forward to Bugs. The idea is this. On the cover of that is one of the best artist renderings I've ever seen because I sat with the artist myself.
On the cover of what?
On the cover of the cassette that I have.
Of a cassette? Oh, of your cassette, all right.
Right, and that way, what I'd like to do is get a reaction from Bugs and he can tell that to you. That's number one. Number two, can I ask you something, Bugs? What kind of soil were these two buried in? Was it sandy? Was it dirt?
This part of the country is sandy loam, and it wasn't silk sand, but it was sandy loam in that particular place where we buried them. It was more of a gravel type sand because it was did have some rock in it because that creek was probably from the point we buried them. The creek kind of went south, about probably 150, 200 yards, and then it turned back east. And over the period of time when we had a lot of high rains in this part of the country, it would wash silt and such in there.
Are you saying that the creek would overflow into this specific area?
Yes.
Oh boy, because that'll cause a different type of decomposition. Did you take a GPS reading?
A what?
Probably not, Robert. I would say not. A GPS.
Oh, no, I don't have one of them animals.
Yeah.
Okay, if we supplied one, would you take the readings and send those to Art?
Well, he's given me an extremely specific map. Oh, okay. Very, very specific.
I mean, that map is detailed down to the foot.
You would know where to dig.
To be honest with you, this happened 30-plus years ago. and I have not been out there since.
Bugs, when you had these things lying on the ground, what did you guys talk about, and why did you decide to bury them?
We thought there could be human art, and we didn't want to go to jail.
But what you just described it's what. Yeah, I understand. In other words, there were enough
Whenever you're sitting there and you're looking at the sexual organs of two animals that's got identical to human beings, what do you think?
Robert, with what you know about Bigfoot, do they have sexual organs? The reports you get, do they have sexual organs similar to humans?
Oh yes,
They do.
So far, everything that Bugs has mentioned is something that I've observed myself. So yes, he's right on the nose.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that fact.
Have you ever seen, Bugs, any of the Bigfoot photos, like Patterson film? Any of those that exist?
Art.
You haven't.
No.
Would somebody please send me a good Bigfoot photograph right away?
I'm on the computer. I can't look at it.
Well, it's too bad our website isn't up because we have all of them on there.
Oh, you do?
Yes, and unfortunately it's under reconstruction right at the moment.
Okay, well, somebody will send us a photograph. Depend on that. In the next 15 minutes or so, we'll try and get it up for the next hour.
I will give a little more detail as to the location of this to tease the people out there. The biggest river in the state of Texas that I guess you might say is the Red River. This Elm Creek is a branch off of the Red River of the state of Texas.
Okay. That's the only sound. Actually, you heard that scream sound, but other than that, you heard a growling. What you would describe as
I don't know whether it was a growling or a rustling or something, but something got our attention in those bushes.
Now, when they moved, you said they moved on 2 feet, or seemed to walk on 2 feet, hunched over or straight up?
It was hunched over. To be honest with you, when it was running, it looked like a bear. When it was running away from us, it looked like a bear, and I'm thinking dollar signs. That's why I fired.
He was probably pretty badly injured by your first fusillade. And what he was doing, I think, is, number one, escaping. Number two, he was going to the protection, hopefully, of his mate. And the mate may have picked him up and carried him to where you caught him.
I don't know that happened. It's possible because there was grass where he came out of that creek and headed east there.
Maurice in Modesto, California asks, if you were hunting for money, why didn't you all decide to bring these creatures back for a hell of a profit? They'd be worth fortune.
Yeah, and maybe go to jail for the rest of your life, too.
I think the fellow in Modesto is overlooking the fact that if these are humanoids, then under the American Constitution, they have civil rights, and Bugs is indeed correct. He could be charged with manslaughter at least.
You know what? By the time we did the original show, by the time we finished the original show, Bugs was actually going to invite me out there, and we were going to dig these bodies up.
Good.
This was years ago.
I said I'd show you, Art. I ain't digging them up. Let me tell you something. I own a farm near this place.
Yes, sir.
And Art, I won't go out there at night because about a year or so ago, I was out there late one evening with my dogs. They love to go out and swim in the creek. And I heard that sound, and Art, I know they still want out there, and to be honest with you, I think they're looking for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bugs, we could do something. This is just a proposition here. If you would show Art where it is, and if I could be somehow involved, I would take the heat for you. I think I could get you off the hook on that.
I'm not sure you could take the heat. In fact, Larry in Anchorage asks, is it even feasible to believe these bodies are still there?
It's pretty rough in that kind of sandy loam because if you have a lot of water running through there, they're going to decompose rather rapidly. And this would also, the escaping gases would call in coyotes. And those skeletons...
Oh, no, we buried them probably, they had to be at least 4 or 5 foot deep, Robert.
Oh, really? Oh,
hey, and let me tell you something. Like our training, we were all Vietnam vets. We know how to cover our tracks. To be honest with you, when we walked away from there, you couldn't tell there was a hole dug there.
Is that right? It's too bad you didn't have a couple of body bags, huh? That would have helped. Because the idea is, since the, Art, you know my feeling about hunting and using guns on Bigfoot. However, if the deed is done, there's nothing we can do, but we wouldn't want them to die in vain. And if they can prove, Bugs, listen to me, please. If we can prove that they exist by virtue of 2 skeletons, then in effect you are protecting the rest of them, because I'm very confident they're going to come out as humanoid. So an act on your part at this point in time would indeed help protect the rest of them.
Bugs, what about your 2 friends? What has their attitude been since?
You know something? We haven't talked in probably, I guess, 10 or 15 years. They both moved away from here. I think they both had kind of the same feeling I did. It was time to back up and go.
That you might have killed something, a human, or something.
I mean, it wasn't that it bothered us that we killed humans, because we had done that before. You know, I mean, to take out a person, that was no big deal to us.
But that was in
Captain.
War, and they
That's
were
right.
Over here.
Right.
That's
It's
right.
a totally different thing.
Totally different situation.
The workup's in the cabinet's hands.
There today.
They said they'll call for us once they've gotten to properly
you were
review
doing
it.
your duty, pal.
But
I
listen,
I understand that.
I know
but
I should have been more
when we got
forthcoming
into this
about who I
situation,
was earlier.
I would have not have shot the
in the
female
interest
once
of
I
full
saw
disclosure,
her, except I feared for my own life.
There's one more thing you ought to know
you had
before we
right
head.
to there.
Bugs,
My relationship with
Bugs,
the UC.
What about
it's
smell?
more complicated than it might seem at first
Did you
glance.
smell anything? Did these creatures
The
smell?
UC's actually the
Art,
only
I
reason
can't
I'm here in the
remember.
first place.
I really can't remember that.
I'm a clone of a man named
Well, if it had
Francois
been really
Salon,
distinct, I'm sure you would have.
one-time fleet admiral of the UC during the Colony War, former head of the UC
I
Navy.
tried to block a lot of this
They
out of my
called
memory.
him Ve Victus,
And it's tough
Road
trying
to
to
the
draw it back
defeated,
up.
in Old Earth
Because
Latin,
I knew what I had
the
done.
title he
I
earned.
realized what we'd done,
The
and I
program
realized that,
I
there
was a
might
part
be
of,
consequences.
it was the UC's attempt to
And
create
the
a
only
new
reason I sent you
generation
this
of
map and
military
everything is
minds
because for
from one of
3
their
years,
most
I've
respected
never had one phone
tacticians.
call. You knew who I
Secure the
was,
leadership
you knew where
of
I
the
was,
UC
you knew my
military
phone
for
number and everything.
generations
Yet
to come.
nobody ever got it. So I trust you.
And you can trust me, although I'm not sure I'm
I'm
happy I
getting
have
there.
the map. If you
The
dug
man
the
I
hole
was
4 to
cloned
5
from,
feet deep,
my
shot them at
father,
4 in the morning,
was
drove
executed
around,
for
shot
acts he
more,
committed during
they
the
would have
war.
been digging and
The man
burying
called
in the
Freestar
daylight, correct?
Collective
Right.
and UC.
This was
And the things he did,
come up
well,
probably,
they're
I'd
a
say
part
around
of the
6
reason.
o'clock, 6:30.
So my
It was daylight. The sun wasn't up, but it was daylight enough for us to see. And
I really
when we
appreciate
found
you.
them,
You know,
we're
while we've
probably
got a
talking about
second,
the
was
sun
there
was
any,
just
or
ready
if
to
you,
peek over the
no
top,
telling how long the
top of the hill. We're talking probably 6:30, 6:45, maybe 7 o'clock. And after we found them and drug them out and everything, we're talking probably 8 o'clock. And it don't take very long to dig when you're scared.
then I guess it's
And
just a
probably
matter of
within an hour, we had dug the hole and put them back. And we'd left.
Did you bury them in one hole or separate holes?
sounds
One.
like our cue.
One hole.
On top of
Here we
each
go.
other.
Yeah, that would make sense. After this was over and they were buried, did the 3 of you talk?
Yeah.
And what'd you
We
talk?
swore ourselves to secrecy, Art.
You swore each other to secrecy.
Yeah. Never reveal it to anybody.
Except for years later, many years later, you went on the radio with me and you told this story.
Well,
and now you're telling it
when
again.
you get to be old, I guess you start thinking about some things you did in your life.